السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أهلا بكم في برنامج نيوكاسل مع وليد. من فوف نرحب بكم. فوف جيمنج الراعي الرسمي لنيوكاسل يونايتد والمقر الرسمي لمشجعي نيوكاسل. طبعا ندعوكم غدا، عفوا ندعوكم يوم الأحد لنهائي كأس الكاراباف بين نيوكاسل ومانشستر يونايتد. بالبداية نبارك لنا جميعا يوم التأسيس. كل عام ووطننا الغالي بخير وأنتم بخير. طبعا بالبداية نحب أن نرحب بضيفنا جيمي ماكاي. طبعا مدرب لأحد فرق الشباب في نيوكاسل، هو في الأصل مشجع لمانشستر يونايتد ويقيم حاليا في نيوكاسل. برضو عندنا الآن يعني نبغى ما ننسى الانضمام لمجتمع الواتساب، المجتمع الجديد في الواتساب لنيوكاسل. أيضا عندنا كود الاشتراك بكود البرنامج أو كود الخصم لنون WNU 0 لجميع طلباتكم من نون. welcome. We'd like to welcome Jammie Mckay from Newcastle and he supports Manchester United. Welcome Jammie.
Hello, mate. Nice to see you again. Every time I see you, وليد, you're either coming to Newcastle, mate, and we meet up to have a little catch up, or man, you are playing Newcastle. So that's the main times that I see you, but always a pleasure. Happy. I've seen quite a lot on social media as well, so I just wanted to say a happy Saudi Foundation Day to everyone in your beautiful homeland. So just wanted to get that out there straight away. Looked amazing, some of the pictures that I've seen on social media from the celebrations, including Cristiano Ronaldo, who's based over there now. So yeah, big congratulations to you all. And yeah, let's talk some football. I think we've got a Carabao Cup final to talk about, have we?
Yes, we were talking about this show since I think more than 1 month. Jammie, we're glad to have you. We are honored to have you tonight with us. We have a lot to discuss. طبعا عندنا الكثير اليوم لمناقشته ان شاء الله مع المدرب جيمي. اطرحوا اسئلتكم في الشات، راح نجاوبها ان شاء الله كلها. طبعا اي موضوع يخص طبعا المباراه ونيوكاسل يونايتد. Jimmy, I would just like some share before we getting into the deep stuff. We would like just do you remember or do you recognize this picture? Who's this picture for?
Yeah, that's the old Wolves manager, is it? Blanco Esperanto Santos.
Santo, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's not.
Yeah.
That's strong.
Yeah.
Great. So do you miss
Nuno Esperanto Santos? Sorry, yeah.
Okay. Do you miss him, Jimmy?
Of course, I miss him. He's an absolute legend. But I'm glad he's found peace. He seems to. I don't know how he's doing actually. I need to keep in touch with you a little bit more, Owleed, to see how he's getting on because there's not too much information about him now unless he's scoring a goal. So yeah, he seems happy out there. He's got better weather than Manchester, so I'm sure he's happy about that. But I'm just glad he's enjoying his football again. I think everybody, like every Man United fan out there, is just happy that he's happy. So hopefully he's doing good out there anyway. I see he scored a couple of good goals. So yeah, of course we miss him, mate. We miss all the legends that used to play for Man United. So yeah, Ronaldo's always going to be a legend of the club, and it's just good to see him smiling when he's playing football again, because I think it was a bit of a turgid time at Man U. It didn't really work, which was a shame, but his legacy will never be tarnished. He's always going to be a legend, and he's always going to be the best player in the world in our head. So yeah.
Okay, Jimmy, that's great. Remember when we watched the game together, Carabao Cup in the third round, as I recall, Newcastle against Crystal Palace. Yeah. Do you expect that both of us reach the final?
Yeah, I think we. Well, not when we both went to that game. I mean, it wasn't the best game, was it, against Crystal Palace? But yeah, I suppose we've had good draws, haven't we? I think that makes a difference. But we're both really quality sides, so it doesn't surprise me that it's Newcastle and Man U in the final. I think we're probably not necessarily now, but over the last month to 2 months, I think we've been probably the most in-form teams in the league. I know Newcastle have sort of slipped off a little bit, but I feel like that's because the final's coming up. I think they've kind of took their eye off the ball a little bit Premier League wise because they're concentrating on the final, which is totally understandable. But if you'd have asked me when we were sitting there at that Palace game whether I think this will be the final, I would have probably had a little laugh when Man City got Southampton and stuff like that. You just don't expect it, but it's worked out nicely, and it's two informed teams, it's two attacking teams, it's two very good managers. So yeah, we're going to find out who's the better team on the day. But form goes out the window in a cup final, so I'm not taking into account Newcastle's little drop in form recently. It doesn't matter in a cup final. But we're both here, sitting here, happy that both our teams are in the final. So I think that's a good thing.
طبعا للتذكير إن شاء الله يوم الأحد طبعا في راح نتجمع في المقر الرسمي لمشجعي نيوكاسل، الراعي الرسمي شركة فوف للألعاب الإلكترونية. إن شاء الله يوم الأحد نشوفكم إن شاء الله الساعة 7:30. طبعا قمنا يعني بالحضور في عدة مباريات سابقة. يعني حاولوا إنه اللي يقدر يجي يعني نتجمع مع بعض، نحصل على صور التذكارية إن شاء الله. طبعا نشكر اللي حضروا للإيفنت حق شولا ميوبي الأسبوع الماضي، كان إيفنت جميل، نشكر نادي نيوكاسل وفوف عليه. طبعا يعني كان طبعا هذا مقطع صور من الإيفنت لما لعبنا مع شولا فيفا. طيب كلنا راح نتكلم كثير على النهائي، لكن نبغى نبدأ بالبداية. راح نتكلم عن المدربين. يعني اليوم حاولت أعرف كم مباراة لعبها تنهاج وإيدي هاو، كم مباراة نهائية لعبوا. would like to talk Jimmy as I try to search today about let's start with Ten Hag. I believe Ten Hag play let's say this is the finals, or this is the achievement as a coach. 3 Dutch champion, 2 Dutch Cup winner, 1 Dutch Super Cup winner, and 1 German. I think this is for Bayern second team. So as I understand, Ten Hag never lost a final. You confirm? This is scary. لم يخسر أي نهائي Ten Hag. What you can tell us about that, Jimmy?
Yeah, I think his time at Ajax was very successful. I feel like he was in charge of the best Dutch team in Holland, which obviously helps when you're trying to win trophies. But I always look past his Ajax time and look what he did before he went to Ajax. And he done a very good job at Utrecht as well. So he got them a very good league position on a relatively small budget. And that's where he started making his progression up until eventually getting the Ajax job. So if you're at Ajax, you're expected to win trophies. So I'm not surprised that he's won multiple trophies when he's there. They're arguably they are the most successful team in Holland. They're the best team in Holland. They're a fantastically ran club. I think he fitted in at the time, but he was just making so much progress. But he's had really good nurturing. He was at Bayern Munich when Pep Guardiola was there. So he's worked under really good managers, and I feel like he's got his own style, but you can see a lot of the management he's worked with and the philosophies he's worked with in his Ajax team and even in his Man United team now. He does trust in youth players. He has got a style of play. He's very adaptive tactically. So he's been a fantastic fit for Man United, and we were crying out for a manager like that, someone that had fresh ideas, that was going to come in and stamp their authority, I believe. And I feel like it's the same with Eddie Howe. I feel like he's done exactly the same. He's come in, he's got something new, he's got a freshness about him. Tactically, he's very aware. He's a modern day manager. I tend not to look too much at what he done at Ajax because I feel like the competitional wise, you've probably got 2 or 3 teams that can challenge in that league: PSV, Feyenoord, maybe AZ Alkmaar. So you're expected to win trophies at Ajax, whereas I don't necessarily feel like that's the job remit that he's come in at Man U. I think he was generally brought in to have a freshness, have a new way of thinking, new way of playing maybe, and rebuild the team over a period of time. And the fact that he's got to a cup final in his first season is a credit to him. And the same with Howe. I know it's not Howe's first season officially. He was at Newcastle the season before, but both fantastic young managers, and we're both lucky to have them. But Ten Hag's been a breath of fresh air for us. I do generally feel as well, I was asked this question today, do I think Man United are going to win the game? And of course I do. I'll get into my reasons as to why I think Newcastle are the favourites going into the game. But I feel like we've got a world-class manager, وليد, and I think Eddie Howe's a very, very good manager as well. But I think it could come down to managerial nous on the day, and I think we've got the better manager. And I don't say that in a biased way. I just think Ten Hag's a little bit more long in the tooth experience-wise than Eddie Howe. Howe's done a fantastic job at Bournemouth, don't get me wrong, but when you're at Ajax with the pressure of Ajax to a pressure of Bournemouth, it's completely different. He needed to win trophies at Ajax or he would have got the sack. So both very exciting managers, both very intelligent managers, and I think it'll be a fantastic game, more for the mindset of the managers as well as the players on the pitch, because they have such an influence on their players and their dressing room, both coaches. So it's going to be a fantastic game. I think it's going to be very tactically, and it's going to be who doesn't make the mistakes on the day. And if they do make the mistakes, who's the team that capitalize on them? Fantastic game. Fantastic.
I will ask about Ten Hag. Have you seen him in the games? I want to ask about when he lost it, or when he losing. I see him calm. Did you see him panic, or he just quiet? Either he's ahead or he's losing.
I think when we played Brighton, we got caught out, to say the least. I think it showed him a lot that the Premier League's not going to be so simple. And then when we went to Brentford, and we got beat heavily from them as well, who are a really physical side, they just got the better of us on the day. I think the whole media just wrote him off and was just like, he's a Dutch manager. He can't do it in the Premier League, because every Dutch manager that's come to the Premier League hasn't necessarily done that well. Like Ronald de Boer got the sack very early at Crystal Palace. Ronald Koeman didn't really do a very good job at Everton. So I think he just got tarnished very early, and then players, his signings started to get criticised, and I think everybody just wrote him off. But the thing is, the fan base were behind him because we wanted him. Like the polls on social media, which social media has such a massive influence on modern day football, it just does whether you like it or not. And it obviously gives me a newer platform to talk about football with other people, which is great, but it's all about opinions, and the Man United fans were adamant that they wanted it. We liked what he brought to the table. We wanted something new. So we didn't write him off when he lost them games, and he's just took time, but he's made a lot of big decisions, وليد, in his short time at Man United, and they've been very good ones. Everybody was saying, why is he not starting Casemiro? This guy played for Real Madrid. Now look at him. He looks fantastic in the system. The Ronaldo situation, he's dealt with everything like a real gentleman and a real quality manager, and everything's staying in-house. And I think win, lose or draw at the weekend, I think that the Man United fans are enjoying watching the team. Like, even tonight, for me, I'm excited to go and watch my team play against one of the biggest clubs in the world, because we've been a million miles away from that over the past few years. We couldn't compete with Barcelona, and we went to their ground and held our own the other day. So it's great. I feel like he got written off. Martinez got written off. His management of Casemiro early got written off, and I just thought, you know what? People are like not giving him a chance. And he's turned it round, and he's been fantastic. And you've seen people like Jammie Mckay, who's such a big personality in the football world, on Sky Sports every week, even saying, I got it wrong. Like, Martinez has been fantastic. He might be 5'8" or whatever he is, but he's doing fantastic. The the way they're playing, the football they're playing, it's some of the best football I've seen for years, Owleed, honestly. Like the way we pass and move and interchange and the positional changes just so fluidly. It's all coming from the manager. So I feel like there's a lesson to be learned with people writing managers off, you know? So he's definitely quietened his critics. So it's really good to see, and it's really positive from the Man United fans' point of view to enjoy watching the team again, because it hasn't been like that for a lot of years, you know? So that's definitely a positive that I've taken from the whole Ten Hag experience. But long may it continue. I think he's been a breath of fresh air. I love his sternness. I love how cold he is with the media. The squad looks really happy, content. We're all going in one direction, and the fan base are getting on the back of it as well. So fantastic.
Brilliant, Jimmy. Jimmy, before we go to Eddie Howe and talk a little bit more about Eddie Howe, regarding the lineup, this is the expected lineup, I believe, tonight against Barcelona. Is it gonna? Do you think is it the same? Will be against Newcastle on Sunday, or there will be some changes?
Because I'm using my mobile, it's not that big on my phone,
Okay.
mate. So
It says
I can't. Just tell me.
De Gea, Bisaka, Martinez, Varane, Shaw. In the middle, Subtizer, Casemiro, Fernandes, Sancho, Weghorst, and Rashford.
Yeah, I'd probably say maybe Sabitzer might drop out for Fred at the weekend. I mean, I'll get down to a tactical breakdown of the game later because I'm sure you'll want to discuss that. But I think we're going to have to be physical with Newcastle. I think if we're not, we could get bullied in the midfield. And I think Fred has that type of personality. But Sabitzer has been a fantastic signing on loan. He's brought a real calmness to the midfield, a lot of quality when he's got the ball. He's good in the tackle. He's got that like rough and ragged style about him that he'll put his foot in, he'll commit to a challenge. So the only change I could potentially see there is Fred. Anthony's fit. We're going to have to see whether Martial is available for the cup final. Hopefully he is, because it's another more experienced player on the bench. But it probably wouldn't be too far off of that team, to be honest. Maybe Dalot ahead of Wan-Bissaka. I would personally like to see Bissaka start the cup final if Maxi starts, because I think Wan-Bissaka will be defensively very tough to beat for Maxi, and he's very tricky, whereas Dalot, he is a good defender, but against players with pace, he does struggle sometimes. And I feel like Maxi could be a bit of an issue. But Maxi and Joelinton, I think, are the most important players for Newcastle at the weekend. If we can stop them, we've got a great chance.
This is the last game against, I believe, Leicester City. And there's no much change. Maybe just Garancho and Sancho.
Yeah.
That's the only change. And, of course, the Lindorf as well, yeah.
Varane. If Varane's fit and Martinez is fit, that will be our centre back pairing, because I think they've been fantastic together. Casemiro being available for the cup final is absolutely massive, but I know you've got a very important Brazilian coming back into your team as well, so that'll be fascinating to see if Bruno's sharp. I think he's going to be a really important player to Newcastle. He makes Newcastle tick. But yeah, I'm quietly confident that probably that team won't be too far away from it. But it matters what happens tonight, mate. I think tonight is such an important occasion for Man U and Newcastle fans. I think if we can beat Barcelona, the high of that result potentially could be a massive factor in our energy levels for the weekend. If we get beat tonight, it's hard to turn around in 3 days, that emotional switching off of a defeat, of a hard defeat to take. So I really do believe that this game tonight against Barcelona is just as, if not more important to us going forward into Sunday. I think it could have an emotional factor to it, but I also believe like tiredness as well is going to come into to play. Newcastle have had a big break, but I was thinking about this earlier because I knew I was going to come on the show with you, and I thought I've got the mindset of I think Newcastle are favourites purely for the rest period, but people tend to not agree with that mindset. But I just can't see how you can play a game at the level we're going to have to play against Barcelona in such a big fixture under the lights at Old Trafford with a full stadium and still have that energy for Sunday. But hopefully there's players coming back, players available, and we're going to have more of a sort of experienced bench. But it's such a difficult one because I feel like Newcastle fans all week. I mean, I work with Geordies, you know. I've been speaking to them all week about the game for the past few weeks, and I think that quite a lot of them have got nervous energy, whereas I haven't been able to look past tonight because it's such a big game for my club. And it's been actually quite nice that I've got something to look forward to this week, and instead of just sitting waiting for a cup final, which Newcastle fans have. So it's such an important fixture tonight, and I think it will have a knock-on effect on Sunday. But both games are going to be really tough against really quality opposition, so we're going to have to be at it. But I think we can do it. I think we can do it.
Jimmy, let's talk a bit more about Eddie Howe. I believe he's in a difficult position now. He's under a lot of pressure. I believe one of the reason is even if he think about the next game, the players thinking about the final, and he depend on some or fixed lineup to start most of the game after the World Cup. So we saw the injuries, we saw the pressure when we get booked or red card, as happened with the Bruno. We get to trouble. I think we still John Shelby, and we loan Chris Wood, and we notice we'll talk about Fraser, I believe, in a few minutes, about that he's getting punished somehow. We got the story about it. We'll talk about it in a few minutes. What do you think? What do you think he will do? And let's not forget Bob, what he did against Liverpool, that mistake. So how do you think Eddie Howe will deal with this pressure? And this is, I believe, first final for Eddie Howe in his career.
I think he's been a breath of fresh air, to be honest with you. Ever since he came to the club, everybody knew he was a good manager at Bournemouth, but it was a different remit at Newcastle. It was right. We need to stay in the league first of all, and now we've got the Saudis backing us. Financially, we're on a completely different level to any level we've ever been on. The richest club in the world, you know. But that comes with a pressure, you know, and he's never dealt with that before. And in the end, it might be his downfall. Is he good enough to manage a club at that level? That's going to be, because Newcastle are only going to get better. Like, this is just the start for Newcastle. This ain't going to be their last cup final. But I think the way he's dealt with it, the way he's stuck to his morals and his principles of his management is the one thing that I'll give him the most credit for, because it's very easy to come in and just sort of accept you've got certain types of players. Every single player Newcastle have bought fits in with his system, and the way he wants to play and the way he wants to do it. He's always been good in the British market buying players. He was at Bournemouth. But he's got to deal with international players now. He's got to deal with big personalities, world-class players in Bruno Guimaraes, who I think is a world-class player. I think Isak could be a world-class striker. And these players are costing a lot of money. And with that money, there comes pressure. And Newcastle is a pressure cauldron for a manager now. It just is, because you don't get that level of financial backing and then not want to be some sort of end priority, a trophy, so to speak. Did I think he was going to get it this season? No, I didn't. I'll be honest with you. But he's another one. You can give Ten Hag as much credit as you want. Ten Hag and Eddie Howe are very similar. They're both at massive clubs with big expectations now. Ten Hag gets his expectations from the fan base, but Newcastle have obviously got very rich owners. The fan base is getting behind the team like I've never seen since I've lived here. Absolutely amazing atmospheres at the stadium. It's unbelievable. I was in town the other day when they were at home, and it was deafening on Northumberland Street, deafening. So the whole city is booming, and obviously anybody that's not aware and hasn't seen me on here before, I live in Newcastle. So I understand what the club means. I've lived up here for nearly 10 years. So I know how much the fans care for the club. It's everything to them. And to see them in the position now where they're so close to success, it's a lot to take in for a lot of them. I think it's a massive deal, you know.
طبعا صارت مشكلة أكيد مع جيمي، صارت قبل بث الحلقة. طبعا يتكلم عن إيدي هاو، يعني عن الوضع، يعني إنه مهما يعني حاليا إيدي هاو الشغل يسويه ممتاز، لكن هذه فعلا الفترة الأولى أو فترة ضغط كبيرة الآن يعيشها مع نيوكاسل. طبيعي أكيد، أول نهائي له، أول نهائي نيوكاسل من 24 سنة، طبيعي هذا الضغط. وأنا يعني رأيي أنه يعني أحس كان في إشكالية في الأخط في التعاقدات، يعني كنا نحتاج لاعب وسط، وتكلمنا عن هذا الشيء كثير.
Sorry, I don't know if that was me, وليد. I apologize about that, mate.
It's okay. Jimmy, we were still talking about Eddie Howe, but
Yeah.
as a coach, Jimmy, I would like to ask about Karius now, and also I want you to tell me, please, about Dubravka situation when he got loaned to Manchester, and I believe he play one CarabaoCup, so that's why he can't play with us, and he will get a medal if Manchester win or lose. He will get a medal from Manchester. This situation is weird. What you can tell us about it? Can you talk please briefly about Dubravka and Karius situation as a coach?
Yeah. I think a lot's been made about Karius. I'm not looking too much into it, to be honest. I think from a Man United fan perspective, it was good that Pope's not playing, but I didn't like the way it's been done. I generally felt sorry for him. It's a massive cup final. I think it's his first cup final in his career. I'm pretty sure it is. He's been fantastic all season, and it's just a mistake. And now he's out the cup final. But from a Man U fan perspective, it's good because he's been fantastic. But it's not good the way it happened. I don't feel good about that. I'm not one of these fans that's happy that he got sent off. You want to see the best players playing in the big games. But I think a lot's been made about Karius. I'm not looking at it too much, وليد, I'll be honest with you. He's an international goalkeeper. He's been at some massive clubs. He was Liverpool's number one for a little while. The career path at Liverpool didn't quite work out, but he was still at Liverpool. He's played for Germany. So he's a really good goalkeeper. I think because he's the third choice at Newcastle, there's a lot being made of it, but people seem to forget he's an international goalkeeper, you know, that's played at the highest level in German football in the Bundesliga before he moved to Liverpool. So I'm not looking too much into that. I know a lot's being made of it, but not from me. He's a very competent goalkeeper. He wouldn't be at Newcastle if he wasn't. It's just a shame, really, the way that everything's worked out with Pope. And then the Dubravka situation, I know you wanted a little bit of information about that. I wasn't surprised when Man United signed him. I think they were looking for another goalkeeper. He fitted the bill. But I think after the game he played with us, he was a nervous wreck, which I just didn't recognise him, because I've watched him a lot for Newcastle. I watch a lot of Newcastle games, as you know, وليد. And I was surprised by the level of his performance. I don't know whether it was just a bit, it's Man United, it's a step up. I don't mean that disrespectfully towards Newcastle fans, by the way, because they're a massive club as well. But I don't know whether he just got a little bit ahead of himself. What he said when he signed with us, it was like he was a bit of a fan. I don't know if he just got caught up in all like the emotion of the performance, but he was dreadful when he played for us. He didn't have a very good game at all. He was very nervous when he was getting the ball back, and he went back. You know, I personally think Tom Heaton is arguably just as reliable as the Dubravka at Man U, But I have no doubt he would be playing if he was available for Newcastle. But the whole situation's just a little bit of a strange one. He came, played one game, played really bad. Now he's back at Newcastle, but he can potentially still get a medal if we win, or if Newcastle win. It's a bit of a strange one, isn't it? What's your thoughts on all that?
Well, I believe it's meant to be Karius. He will be the goal scorer for this game. He deserves this, I believe, and he will be a hero if Newcastle win. And I think it will make him forget about. This is a problem. I tried to be goalkeeper before. I know sometimes things get. He take the blame, the goalkeeper usually. So I believe this is a good chance for him, and I think he will be doing great. Jimmy, can you tell us expectation about the lineup of Newcastle since you are living there? You know, because people ask me, is Maximin playing? Is Isaac or Wilson? Is Almiron? For me, I believe Almiron and Wilson and Jordan.
I don't think the lineup that you've got in front of you will be too far off it. I think the back four probably picks itself at the moment. Obviously,
yeah, this is less
Karius is going to be the goalkeeper, so that's a bit of a change than usual. But nothing. He's got a very good back four in front of him to start with. You're going to have Bruno coming back into the team, Joelinton in the midfield with. I think he'll go with Longstaff. I know I got cut off when I was speaking about Eddie Howe there, but I feel like the one credit I will give to him is he's picking really good footballing players, people that are comfortable with the ball. And Longstaff has been really good for Newcastle recently, I think. I was actually having a chat with him at the ice hockey the other week. Sean Longstaff, nice fella, having a little bit of chat about the football. And I think he's been brave picking players like that, because last season, like, Longstaff was sort of, he wasn't good enough in a lot of fans' eyes. He shouldn't be in the starting 11. They need to invest more, but he's actually kept the core group of players like Fabian Schär, who we thought maybe they'd buy another centre back to go with Botman. He doesn't seem to fancy Lascelles. And he's got a way of him playing, and you look, he's got little partnerships on the pitch at Newcastle, and I feel like that's a credit to the manager. That's intelligent management. You've got to build relationships in starting 11s. It's so important, even at grassroots level. With my young lads, I look for partnerships all over the pitch. Is the left winger comfortable with the left back? Do the centre backs work? Do the holding midfielders both work together? Can they communicate well? How does the right back and the right winger play? Can the cam mix? Can the cam link up well with the striker? I think it's so important to get the chemistry right in the 11, and I feel like Eddie Howe has got that. I think he's very good at that as well. But regarding the lineup, I don't think much is going to change from the team that you've had on there, apart from obviously Bruno, the goalkeeper. I think he'll start with Almiron. I think his work rate could be a plus for Newcastle. I don't know what other options you've got off of that right wing. I don't think he fancies Murphy from the start. Could he put Isaac out there and maybe play Wilson through the middle? He tends not to play Wilson and Isaac in the same 11 because of the chemistry again. Maybe it just doesn't work. Maybe the balance isn't right. These are all the things you've got to give Eddie Howe credit for. He gets the balance right of the team. It might not be what we want to see on the field, well, what you want to see on the field, but it's about the balance, about the partnerships and the chemistry on the field. It's so big in football. And I feel like it's easy to think, right, I've got two world-class strikers, so Isak and Wilson should be playing. But if he doesn't feel like it balances the team out right, and he has to adjust his formation, it doesn't work. So it's going to be interesting. But I think personally, if you're asking me, his front three at the weekend will be Isaac through the middle, Almiron on the right, and Maxi on the left, which I think is a big problem for Man United. I really like Isaac. I think he's better than Wilson. In my opinion, he's a better striker. His all-round game is better than Wilson's, apart from maybe his pressing ability. I don't think Wilson's got a lot in his locker that Isaac hasn't got. I think his touch is good. He watches the game very well. He's very aware. He's good in the air. He's very pacey. He can finish if he's given a chance. He's skillful. His movement on and off the ball is very good. And Wilson's a great player as well. I just like what Isaac brings to the table. I think he's got potential to be a world-class striker. I really do. Maxi, he's like the vibe I get with Maxi, and you'll have to comment on this for me as well, because he's like Marmite in England. I don't know if you have Marmite in Saudi Arabia or not, but it's like something that goes on a bit of toast, and some people hate it and some people love it. And I feel like that's Maxi. That is literally Maxi. I love him. I love watching him, but he doesn't play for my team. And I get why Newcastle fans get frustrated, but I just love his energy. It's like, right, give me the ball. I'm going to take on the whole team. You know, and he's brave and he makes stuff happen. I just like that type of player. But I also appreciate another person that likes someone that keeps the ball. So I get it. What's your take on Maxi?
As a defender, if I'm a defender, I don't want to be the last one against Maxi.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yes. So I believe the tactic, if it change, he was great with the Bruce, because most of the teams are attacking Newcastle and leave spaces behind, and this is what Maxi love. But now with a new team, most of the teams are defend against Newcastle, taking Newcastle more seriously. So they put like a pressure on Maxi, and this is what he didn't like, because when he loses a ball once or twice, the whole team starting to be annoyed by Maxi and the coach. So I sometimes I believe when he handle the ball, when he have the ball at his legs, he's afraid to do something wrong that will be blamed for later. He doesn't feel freedom as before. But for me, he's a great player. We notice against Liverpool when Liverpool make spaces behind, because they guarantee almost guarantee with the man shortage. He gets spaces and he was very dangerous. So I think you could use him. You could use him in sometime at the games when the other team is leaving spaces behind. Besides, I don't want to blame him. Also, you have Dan Burn, and Dan Burn a great defender, and he's doing great with left back. But he's not a stylish left back. He can't support maybe Maximin enough as a class left back. So I think this is sum up Maxi. This is a great analysis, Jimmy, for both team, both coach, and expected formation and lineups. Before going to other subjects, let's finish with the referees. So a lot of Newcastle fans, I am one of them, we are not happy with David Coates, because one reason, who didn't allow this as a penalty with VAR, he doesn't get our trust. What do you think, mate?
That's a penalty all day, isn't it?
Yeah, imagine he watched it in VAR and he didn't take it as penalty. What do you think?
Yeah, how we
can't trust?
I watched the game.
How we can't trust him? And why? Why we didn't complain? I don't know. This is legal in England to complain against the referee?
I don't know, actually. I don't think so. I presume you could write an appeal to the referee. I don't know. Maybe it's a respect thing in the Premier League that you wouldn't want to call out a referee. I don't know, but I think a lot's been said about it. Apparently he's a Man United fan, apparently. But everybody seems to be a Man United fan that's a referee nowadays that gives us the decision. So I think there's been a lot made on it. I think it's going to come down to
I think they said he's not from Manchester. He's from Derby County, or support Derby County.
Oh, Derby. Oh, there you go. But I can see why Newcastle fans are worried. They've had some bad VAR decisions this season. But the best team is going to win the game at the weekend, not the referee. So I tend not to look at stuff like that. I get people's cases and stuff, but Not for me, that. I think if we win the game, we've won it because we're the better team on the day. And if you win it, it's going to be the same. I don't think the referee is going to make too much of a difference. I hope not anyway. I'd like to see him keep his cards in his pockets, let the game flow. And then the best team win. And that's what I want to take from it. Whether it's Newcastle that wins or whether it's my team, I want the best team to win. I don't want there to be a question mark over the game, because I think it will be sad. Because I think they're two very good clubs, very, very big clubs, fantastic players, fantastic managers. So the best team, hopefully the best team will win on the day. Hopefully it's my team. But if it isn't, at least it's the best team. I can deal with losing the final against a better team. It's not easy taking it, but you can take it easier. Instead of like getting beat on penalties in our last final against Villarreal when we were the better team. So it's just frustrating, but yeah, not too much to take in from the referee, mate, I don't think.
All right, let's move to sensitive subject, and we would like to hear your take on it, and the latest you hear about it, and how this expected takeover doing in the Manchester United fans. Are they excited? Are they happy as this is give them a push? What you can tell us about it, mate, in a few minutes?
I think it's potentially massive for the future of the club. I think Man U's reputation in world football has probably been tarnished since the Glazers have took over. The way we go about our business, the dividends coming out of the club. I mean, we could do a whole show on them. So I feel like it's give Man United optimism. I think I even said it on one of your shows, mate, or maybe I said it to you when I was with you, spending a bit of time with you. Like, the Glazers are a bigger Mike Ashley. Like, they don't want to do anything that's going to tarnish their financial situation. They want to better it. And I always said Mike Ashley was another Glazer on a smaller scale. So the fact that we've got the opportunity to get them out, which they don't want the best for the club, I will lead. Like, you probably see a lot on social media about this, but they don't want the best for the club. They want to make money out of the club. Like, and they've never put a penny in. Everybody's obsessed with how much Man U have signed, so bought players for. It's never been a coin of their money. Never a coin. They've always used the club's money that the club have physically generated to buy players. It's never come out of the Glazers' pockets. I cannot reiterate that enough. They have never physically bought a player with their money. That's why the debt that they bought the club in is still there. Not a penny of it has been paid off. None of it. And if any of it has been paid off, which it hasn't, it would have been used with the money the club's generated through fan bases, match days, hospitalities. It's never out of their pocket. So this is what we're saying now. You've had your fun. You've had your money. Now take the offer on the table, which is a ridiculous offer, by the way, 5 billion. Absolutely ridiculous, because we're not worth 5 billion. So take the money and just do the right thing and leave now and let us move on. So there's like conflicting stories, whether they're going to sell, whether they're not. There's a rumor that they could potentially be in trouble for influencing the stock share prices by saying it's up for sale, and now all of a sudden it isn't, and the Man U stocks over the past couple of days have dropped massively because there's rumors that they might stay. This American firm's come in, Mitchell, I think they're called Mitchell, offering to buy out the other siblings, because the Glazers are owned by the family, but some of the siblings want out because the fan base and the hospitality is just too much. The hostility, is too much for them. They want out. But it's Joel and Avram Glazer who are the massive problems in the whole ordeal. They want to retain the club. So it's a case of, I think the fans are jumping on any optimism possible. If you were asking me personally, what do I think is going to happen? I do think they will sell, because I just don't think they've got a choice. I think there's no way back now. But it wouldn't surprise me if they'd done a massive U-turn and paid off their siblings and them to run it. But it's gone way past football for me now, hourly. It's gone way past. It's like a big game to them now. And I feel like we've just got to keep doing what we're doing as a fan base, the 1958, who are a group against the Glazers, have done absolutely fantastic work. I know a lot of Newcastle fans were doing the same with Ashley. The protests every single game. You've got to keep the heat on them and strike while the iron's hot. They've got a bid on the table that's an astronomical bid that it can walk away, never have to work another day in their life with the money they're going to make. And that we can sail off into the sunset doing whatever they want to do with their American football teams. And we can actually have some structure and a long-term vision with the Qataris if they get it. Or Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Quite a lot's coming out about his bid. He's not willing to pay off the debt.
Yes, that's what exactly the translation. That the debt, he will not pay the debt. So who you think will be now the takeover will go for whom, you think?
The fan base want the Qataris, mate. The fan base want the Qataris because I feel like they're going to come in, they're going to do the same as PIF. They're going to start bringing quality people in up high, giving Ten Hag the backing upstairs as well. People that know the game, understand the game. They're going to back the team financially. They're potentially going to revamp or build a new stadium or re-renovate Old Trafford, which would be my preference. The training facilities are outdated at the club. Like the Glazers have done nothing to improve that football club and make it a modern club. And I feel like if the Qataris get in, they're going to just completely transform Man United and we're going to be up there with the best clubs in the world again. I think their vision, now they've said they want to make us the best team in the world again. The Glazers complained about them, criticizing them in the media, which I thought was funny, as if they've done a good job. Like, we haven't won a trophy for years. You know, we've had multiple managers. We've bought bad players for big money. Like, I just don't understand, like, how they can think they've done a good job. But if you were to ask the fan base, Lee, it's that they want the Qataris. Like, they really want the Qataris. And I think it's for the longer term vision. It's not just about the money aspect. It's having an owner that wants to make us great again. It's having someone to believe that we can get to that level. At the moment, we're just walking through tar with these Glazers. They don't care about the club. They're not interested what the fan base want. There's holes in Old Trafford. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, enough's enough now. Like, give it to someone that's going to care for it. Like, Old Trafford's like our baby. You know, you've got to look after a little young baby and keep it. You know, like Old Trafford's like our shrine. It's like St. James's Park. It's everything to the fan base. You know, and they've just let it. It's got holes in it. When it rains, you know, in Manchester, which is all the time, the stadium leaks. This is Man United in the Premier League, arguably the biggest club in the world, and we've got a stadium that's rotten. Like, and they wonder why we get so frustrated. But
do you expect? Is there any chance to go to another American investor?
I don't know. I've just heard about this other company that's advised them that they'll have a percentage in the club, but they'll give them enough money to pay off the siblings. I think there's only 3 bids on the table, mate. I'm presuming there probably will be more, but in the media, you've got the American group that's going to finance the siblings and get them out. So it's just Joel and Avram, but it's just a game to them. They don't care. And my biggest worry is Lee, and I'll be honest with you. The biggest worry for me is they're going to stay in charge because the Super League talks started again.
Oh, yeah.
And that's my biggest worry. Whereas if that was off the table, they'd be walking away into the sunset with this 5 billion. Which, what even is 5 billion? Like, it's absolutely ridiculous sum of money. Like, you know, so they're never ever going to get that money again, Lee. They're never going to generate someone with the wealth of Qatar to buy the club. So if they don't sell now, they're never ever going to get that price. And if they don't sell in general, we're in trouble.
An expected date to take over complete?
No, I don't think so. There's talk that there's going to be a second round of bidding. That's what I'm hearing at the moment. I don't know, but it's a big game to them, Lee. It's like how much can I get for this? Oh, you're offering 5 billion. Well, can you offer me 5 billion and £1, and I'll take your offer because it's more money. You know, it's just a game. You know, but I do think they will sell in the end because I think the heat's on them from the fan base.
Jimmy, let's move to other side, the blue side of Manchester City. Manchester City. We would like to. We have a fan base from they support Manchester City, and they want to know exactly what is with this punishment. Some people say, some fans says there been a spy working with the club. He got some information and some evidence against the management of Manchester City, and there will be this talking about deduction of points. What you can tell us about that?
I think, to be honest with you, to be perfectly honest, I'm not too knowledgeable on the ins and outs as to what the charges are. I know the basics, but their books have not been balanced, so they have been spending more than they've been sort of making viewable, shall we say. So apparently Mancini's contract was being paid some by City, but then a third party company that's owned by the football club's owners was paying him as well, but not on the books. So, and there's allegations of transfer dealings in the past. I think it's a massive case, to be honest with you, but if I'm brutally honest, they're going to have a very good lawyer because they have a lot of money. So I don't think it's going to get the result it probably should. It's a shame on the Premier League because it tarnishes the league. But they're a massive club now. They're very powerful people that own that company, own the club, sorry. I think you've seen the cracks in Guardiola. That was good timing, actually, that you put that picture up. I think you've seen the cracks in him in his press conferences. He's a little bit out of character. He's getting wound up a little bit easier. I don't think they're playing very well at the moment. The squad doesn't look the most happiest. I don't know. Something's just not right there. People are saying that Guardiola's not a big fan of Haaland because he's the way he plays and he's not fitting into the way Guardiola wants to play. It happened with Ibrahimovic. That doesn't shock me. When he bought Ibrahimovic for Barcelona, he didn't quite fit in and he got frozen out.
Do you have you said it's just balance. Maybe this is some paper will appear and will fix everything, do you think? Or this is going deeper?
Yeah, I think it's going deeper, mate. I think they're going to get asked a lot of awkward questions. And the Premier League, UEFA asked them to provide evidence. They didn't do it. And it just got forgotten about. Whereas the Premier League are going to ask questions. They're going to want accountability for this money. They've been buying players for ridiculous sums of money for years. Where's the money coming from? Is it being generated from the club? Because they don't earn more money than my club in revenue. So where's it all coming from? We get they're owned by a state, but it doesn't mean the state can put money into the club illegally. You can put as much money into the club as you want, but you've got to show it on the books. And I think the majority of the issues that they're being labeled at is because the books don't balance for the money that's been generated. So it's a very complex situation, which is going to be fascinating to watch because someone's going to have to answer a lot of awkward questions. But I think they'll get around it. They'll get around it some way. And what gives me that confidence is the way Guardiola's talking, because he's acting like everyone's against them, and he's like name dropping clubs in his press conference that wanted them to be took to the courts and kicked out the leagues. And I think they're cracking big style. And it couldn't have come at a worse time because I don't think they're playing that well either. So, yeah, it's an interesting one to keep your eye on. I don't know the legalities of it, so I'm just going based off of what I've seen as well, you know. But
have you heard about spy or something been working with the club? No?
I've seen little columns in that on Twitter, and I've read a few things and stuff, but I don't know. That's just paranoia. If you've got nothing to hide, Owlie, it doesn't matter if you've got a spy or not. You know, so answer the questions that you're being asked. If you've got nothing to hide, answer the questions. So
Exactly.
it's pretty much as simple as that for me. If you're squeaky clean and you're coming out in press conferences and you're telling you everything will be fine, and I know my club and I know we do this and we do that, answer
Yeah.
the questions that are coming then, and then we'll go from there. But it's a fascinating ordeal, especially from a Man United fan, because I would love nothing more than seeing them go down to the
Yeah.
Championship.
It's gonna be like allegation against evidence after all, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go now to fan question or the chat.
Hmm.
Just here couple we just want to make sure we didn't miss anything. طبعا بالنسبة لفريزر that we hear that Fraser being transferred to a team under 23, and we believe there is some kind of maybe issue, not with Eddie Howe, with someone in the team management. We believe maybe ممكن يعني سمعنا انه يعني السبب انه كان في خلاف مع احد الطاقم التدريبي، ما احنا متاكدين من هذا الموضوع نتيجه الاسماء، لكن غالبا هذا يعني في اشكاليه عليه، عاد ما نعرف ايش الاشكاليه بالضبط، لكن هي بس انها للتاكيد انها ليست مع ايدي هاو. طبعا برونو راح يرجع لنا. I just want to ask Jimmy about Casemiro. What he يعني what's the relation between the red card get يعني Manchester fans happy that so Bruno get booked and the same day I believe Casemiro get booked. What was this about, Jimmy? What you can tell us about this take?
It was just a bad challenge, and it got out of hand, and he just made a mistake, didn't he? It was a sending off. Like, I didn't complain about it. You can't do that, but I think the same happened a few weeks after, and nothing happened. So it's just the way it is. But you can't do that. He's got a bit of that Brazilian spike, Casemiro, mate. Joe Linton's got it as well. He'll boot a player. He doesn't mind shoving someone. I quite like that. I quite like Joe Linton, you know. I quite like that aggressive Brazilian style. Like, Fred's got a bit about that as well of him. But it was a sending off. I think Bruno's was as well, to be honest. But if any Newcastle fans listening to this now, they'll be thinking, yeah, well, Sabitzer done exactly the same as Bruno. Look, I'll hold my hands up. Sabitzer should have been sent off as well. So it is what it is, but it's all swings and roundabouts and good fun, isn't it?
طبعا بعد شوي بروح الأسئلة، فإذا عندكم سؤال للجميع أو سؤال لي نجاوبها بعد شوي. Actually, this is what I'm afraid from Rashford. I believe he's the one who's يعني I think is difficult to deal with the Newcastle defense. And I want to ask
Yeah,
you,
I think he's a problem.
what he's still doing in Manchester, Jimmy?
Our lead. I love him. I absolutely
Really?
love him.
Sure. I know he can be useful, but he doing terrible mistakes.
Just for anybody that doesn't know, when Fred has a good game, I always WhatsApp our lead saying, "We've got Fredinho," don't I? I really like him. He's not the best player, but do you know what, our lead? The one thing I will say about Fred, right? He tries so hard. He tries so hard. Like, you can't. He might have a bad game, but he always gives his all. He's not the best footballer in the world, but he will always try, and Man United fans will always give him credit because you can't question his will to do well. He doesn't always have a good game. His passing's awful sometimes, but I don't know. He's got that little. I don't know. He's got that little bit of Brazilian about him. I quite like him.
Why is Sky Sports still annoying Newcastle? Why they played Manchester United and Newcastle without United? Why?
Oh, Willie, you can't ask me questions like this.
No,
You're putting me
this is
under pressure
this
here.
is
I don't know. It's just stupid, isn't it? I don't know, mate. It's just stupid. I seen a lot of Newcastle fans putting stuff like that on their social medias. It just made me laugh, to be honest. I was like, just don't worry about stuff like that, man.
طبعا على الساعة 11 إن شاء الله عندي لقاء إن شاء الله في يلا أوروبا، راح نتكلم كثير عن مباراة يوم الأحد إن شاء الله. نروح أسئلتكم أعزائي المتابعين. Can NFC make it? I believe so. Quick answer, Jimmy.
Yeah, is that for me? Is it? Yeah. There's two teams in a final. Everything goes out the window in a final. It's whoever's the best team on the day, and You definitely. I can't see the name for that. But you definitely got a chance. You're one of the two teams in the cup final, so one of us has to win it. And I think you're going to be a lot more rested than us after tonight. So I think Newcastle are the favourites for the final, purely for the fact of they've had a lot of rest and they can plan ahead, whereas we can't because we've got a big game tonight.
طبعا جيمي يعني يقول لك انه نيوكاسل اكثر حظا لانه مانشستر راح يلعب بعد قليل مع برشلونه في الدوري الاوروبي، فراح يكون اكثر راحه. يعني بس مانشستر يعني برضو عندهم لاعبين يعني احتياط يمكن اكثر من نيوكاسل جاهزين. team to get Champions League seat.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think so. No. Not for me. I
No,
don't think they'll get the Champions League, but they'll definitely get into Europe. And I actually said that at the start of the season. I seen too much from Newcastle last season.
No, Jimmy, I believe he mean that if Newcastle win the Carabao Cup, is he going straight to Champions League or he need to be fourth in the league or the top four?
No, the Carabao Cup. Oh, good question. And the FA Cup allows the Champions League.
So I believe maybe FA Cup, if the win of FA Cup in the top four, Carabao winner go.
I don't know. Maybe I'm not too sure. I don't think Newcastle will get in the Champions League this year. I think in one season too soon, but you're definitely getting to Europe.
Priority, I believe, to FA Cup.
Yeah, the priority of the Champions League position goes to the FA Cup winner, mate. Yeah.
This goes for both teams. If they lose, I mean Newcastle, does this affect them? Of course, but how far do you think? Same with Manchester. Effective losing.
If both teams lose, it's going to affect them. Yeah, because it's all about winning trophies. Football. Every club in the league wants to win trophies. So if you don't win, it's going to be a hard one to take, particularly for Newcastle fans. I generally do believe the pressure's on them just as much as us. I think we need to win a trophy, but I think Newcastle are obsessed with winning this game. And I feel like that could come into that could benefit us in the long term here, because it's a lot of pressure for them players after so long of them not winning the trophy. Whereas Man U have been here before. So cup finals does come down to experience. I played in 3 cup finals as a player in my footballing days, وليد. I won 2 of them and lost 1. And the other team we played, they were 5th in the league, in our league when we played them. We were top. But they were just really experienced side. And they just old manned us. And their experience showed in the cup final. We had a really young team at the time. And I always remember that cup final because I always think about that one that we lost. I did win 2. I was very lucky to win 2. But the losses are hard to take, and they do affect you. They do affect your mood as a person as well. So both teams, it's a massive game. It's the first trophy of the season, and the 2 clubs have been starved of trophies for a little while. I know Newcastle a lot longer than us, but nobody wants to lose a cup final, mate. Nobody.
طبعا اللي يسأل ولك تدرب مع النادي بالأمس، يعني يبدو أن اللاعب يعني راح يكون جاهز. لسه بقينا جمعة سبت، ففي مجال أنه يشارك أساسي. ولك Knife asking you why Newcastle, what's the reason behind performance of Newcastle get back after the World Cup?
I think they've took their foot off the gas a little bit. They've probably took their concentration levels off because of the cup final. I get it. I totally get it. I've played football at a half decent level. You do, وليد. If you're in a final, you're very skeptical about going in for that 50-50 in case you get injured and miss the final. It does come into players' heads, and fans don't understand that because they just want to see full throttle all the time and 100%, which I understand at that level. The fact that the players will be thinking about the final. The management will be thinking about the final. It's the biggest game in Newcastle's history in the last 50 odd years. So there's so much pressure from the fan base to win this game. It's such a big deal for them. It's been so long, do you know what I mean? And it does make a difference. And you do think about that cup final and you're not wanting to get injured. Some players will never play in a cup final again in their professional career. The likes of Nick Pope. That's why I feel sorry for him. Nick Pope will get to another final because Newcastle are too good not to get there. But some players will never play in a cup final again. You're speaking about Fraser. He's a great example. I don't think he'll be at Newcastle next year. He ain't going to play in a Carabao Cup final for someone else if he goes to a lower league team. It's a massive deal for players, you know. Everybody wants to win trophies, but you can't help but switch off a little bit. And I know that it's not what the fans want. I totally get it. And we've been lucky that we haven't, but we've had big games. This is what I'm saying. Tonight's a big game for us to concentrate on so we don't switch off. But yeah, it is in players' heads. I have no doubt about it. And just to briefly go back and summarize, I think their drop in form hasn't really been worrying. I haven't got that impression from the fan base that you're worried about their drop in form. It's just you've switched off in certain games. In the Liverpool game, he's played really well, but you just conceded 2 goals too early. Couldn't recover. But you had chances and didn't take them, you know? So I wouldn't be too worried about it from a Newcastle fan's perspective, the performances. I don't know what your take is on it, but can I ask you a quick question, by the way, because I got asked this earlier.
Of course. Go
ahead. Is Gordon out of the game? Is Anthony Gordon cut-tied?
Well, I believe it's been mentioned. Yeah, it's been mentioned. I forget that. It's been mentioned he can't play.
Happy.
I believe so. Yeah,
I actually really rate him.
Because he played with Everton, he can't play.
Yeah, I'm not too sure actually. That's why I asked you.
Yeah. I think I hear that. Maybe that's my mistake. My bad. Yeah. Yes.
He would be starting for me if I was picking Newcastle's team and they had a fully fit team. Yeah, he would be playing on the left wing. I think I really like him. I will either think he's going to be a good player for you.
So that's mean Saint Maximin will play or Gilinton, but I think maybe Maximin will play. So طبعا جواب جيمي نايف يقول لك انه يعني رغم كل الاسباب السبب تراجع المستوى انه بعد كاس العالم نيوكاسل تأهل النهائي، فالتأهل النهائي هذا ضغط كبير. نيوكاسل ما فاز بطولة من رسميا من 50 تقريبا او اكثر 50 سنة، فطبيعي يكون هذا الشيء موجود. ضغط هذا كل الفريق يبغون البطولة يبغون الكأس، هذا مسبب ضغط كبير مؤثر على اللاعبين بشكل كبير. هذا ملخص اللي قاله جميع عن هذه النقطة، بغض النظر طبعا عن الأسباب الثانية. There is a news from Daily Mail saying that £1 million for each player of Newcastle win from the owners. I believe this is not true at all, and I think this is not happen in Premier League because this will consider against financial fair play if I can give a player like £1 million as a reward. Is it?
It'd be nice to be able to afford to give someone £1 million each for a win, wouldn't it? I could deal with £1 million if they want to give me it, but I don't.
But I don't know why people believe this. I don't know.
I don't know. Everybody just thinks the Saudis have got so much money, so they can just have a bit of fun with it. I don't think that's the case. They've got enough money than footballers.
طبعا مشكلة يعني ربعنا ما يصدقون خبر يكتبونه في تويتر يقول لك ايش الحسابات، يعني انه £1 مليون لكل لاعب. طبعا يعني انا اشوف هذا الموضوع مستحيل، يعني هذا ضد اللعب المالي النظيف، و يعني ما راح نبدا يعني هذا عندنا في الدوري السعودي مكافآت زي كذا، يعني ما ذا الكلام ما يمشي في بريطانيا. يعني هذا تدخل في اللعب المالي النظيف وفلوس زياده على اللاعب نفسه، ياخذ مثلا نص مليون في الاسبوع، شيل لي £1 مليون عشان هذا شيء يعني اوكي ممكن جوائز يعني مثلا عينيه طبيعي، لكن مبلغ مادي مستحيل يصير هذا الشيء. Okay, so last thing, mate, expectation. For me, I believe 1-0 Newcastle, and Fabian Schär will score the goal.
Oh, Fabian Schär. Expectations are we're going to win tonight. I'm not looking at Sunday yet.
Okay, that's a great diplomatic answer. At the end, we would like to thank you, Jimmy, for we are honored to have you in our show again. You've been a fresh air, and you tell us about the latest. Thank you for all your input.
Not a problem at all, mate. Always a pleasure to talk football with you and your guests that ask the questions on the show. So always nice to see you in general, mate. I know we're sort of talking football, but always good to spend a bit of time with you and catch up again. I enjoy it when you come over in Newcastle, so hopefully you'll be over soon. I'm sure you'll let me know if you do come over. I promise you we'd go out for pizza next time, so we'll definitely do that. But nah, been good, mate. I haven't done podcasting for a long time, so it's been nice to come on and obviously see you again, but talk a little bit of football as well. It's been nice and refreshing. So a nice little taster. I'm going to go and eat some pizza and get ready for the Man United Barcelona game. I'm sure I'll give you a message as well when the game's on. I'll send you a big massive paragraph that we're going to beat us if we beat Barcelona tonight. Always a pleasure, mate. Thank you very much for getting me on these channels when you play Man United. I really appreciate it, mate. You're doing great work as well, so keep it up.
Likewise, Jimmy, and we wish you good luck only tonight, but for Sunday, it's good luck for us. And ثانك يو ريلي. طبعا نراكم ان شاء الله يوم الاحد ان شاء الله في مباراه نيوكاسل مع مانشستر في فوف، المقر الرسمي لمشجعي نيوكاسل يونايتد في السعوديه. شكرا لكم للمتابعه. نراكم بعد قليل طبعا في يو اف ام. راح نتكلم بتفاصيل اكثر طبعا يعني باللغه العربيه مع المتالق حمود الابراهيم على اذاعه يو اف ام. شكرا لكم وتصبحون على خير.